Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to the first episode of the new director series, 6 film runs. And today's subject is probably my favourite Italian director, Francesco Rossi. So again, an overview of this series is you pick 6 films in a row that you think are great films of a director, and not every director is going to have them, because every now and again direct a film that's not up to standard, or you'll have a film in the middle of a run that you haven't actually seen, so you're disqualified from a 6 film run. So with that in mind, I'm going to start my Francesco Rossi, who was the first director I actually thought of, with Umini Contro, or Many Wars Ago. This is his World War I film from 1970, which is a straight up masterpiece in my opinion, with Gian Maria Volonté. Rossi is one of those directors that I hadn't really seen any of his films about 18 months ago. And within the last 18 months, I've seen a good number, and I think he has made some amazing films. But again, this series is all about your opinion. So do you agree or disagree with this 6 film run, or have you seen this 6 film run, or does Rossi have another 6 film run? So that's Many Wars Ago. Just an absolute stunner. One of those films, when you watch it, you're just agog. Rossi doesn't have a particularly visual signature in his films. He's more interested in the characters and the stories. But this one is absolutely beautiful, even though it's horrible, about World War I and Italian soldiers holding the line in the mountains. Then we go to 1972, the Matai Affair, or the Matai case. Now I think I've mentioned this before. Unfortunately, this is one of those DVDs that I kind of felt I wasn't getting the whole story, and lots of the Italian dialogue didn't seem to be subtitled. This was a pretty successful film, so it really should have a Blu-ray. I don't know whether there is an Italian Blu-ray perhaps, but I certainly can't find one with English subtitles, which is a shame, because you do feel there is a great film going on. Again, this is starring Volonté, about an industrialist even, or an industrial industrialist, who dies in a plane crash that may or may not have been an accident. I would love to see this on a better print, but certainly this is a very good film, even if, as I say, you don't really get the full picture. And then we go to 1973 with Lucky Luciano. Again, this stars Volonté, complete coincidence obviously, and this also stars Rod Steiger, who would also be in Rossi's Hands Over the City, which isn't featured in this 6 film run. This perhaps isn't up to the standard of the 5 other films in this list, but it's certainly a very good film. It's a little flawed, telling the true-ish story of Lucky Luciano when he came to America. Then in 1976 is another stunner. Illustrious Corpses with Lino Ventura, Max von Sydow. Again, this is one of those films that when I watched it, it just absolutely blew me away. About a cop who's investigating the murder of several Supreme Court judges. Again, this is during the years of lead. This is just a wonderful film, very much like the American conspiracy films of the 70s. But this has a baroqueness to it. There's the use of architecture. Ventura's fantastic. In this Kino Lorber edition, Region A has a commentary by Alex Cox, which is absolutely fantastic. So that's another reason for checking it out. But this is another absolutely amazing film by Rossi. Speaking of amazing films by Rossi, we then go to 1979, as if that wasn't enough. Get Christ Stopped at Eboli. Strangely enough, this also stars Volonte. Illustrious Corpses doesn't star Volonte. But Christ Stopped at Eboli does. This is the 4-hour cut. Again, I've done a random review in this, I've talked about it before. It's a 4-hour film where nothing happens, but it's absolutely riveting. It's about a political dissident played by Volonte who's punted out to the countryside to live in exile for a while and just meets the people in the town, wanders about the town. There's such a pastoral beauty to this film. Again, Rossi doesn't necessarily do stunning shot composition and things like that, but his films have a natural beauty to them. Again, Christ Stopped at Eboli is just one of those films that you can't pinpoint why it's so amazing, but it's just riveting and breathtaking and quite wonderful. And finally, the end of this 6-film run, which I think is pretty tremendous and one of the best 6-film runs in this series, I think. Three Brothers from 1981. So this 6-film run goes from 1970 to 1981. So 6 films in 11 years, which is pretty impressive, especially considering at least 3 of them are masterpieces, in my opinion. My opinion is not fact, of course. Again, this is another deceptively simple film about 3 brothers from different walks of life who come back to the country home after their mother dies. Again, just achingly beautiful. The countryside, Italian countryside, is absolutely gorgeous. And again, the men sit around and talk about politics and talk about their lives. Again, not a lot happens, but very much like Christ Stopped at Eboli, it's absolutely wonderful. And I would highly recommend checking it out. So that is my 6-film run for Francesco Rossi. I think it's pretty spectacular, to be honest, but again, my opinion doesn't really matter. So what are your... Do you think Rossi has a 6-film run? Have you seen a 6-film run of Rossi? Would you change some of the entries? Again, they have to be in a row. So it's not just picking out 6 really good films from a director's career. It has to be a run. So hopefully you enjoyed that first episode. That gives you an idea of what the series is about. But again, leave your comments about Rossi below. Again, I understand there'll be some directors that some people have seen less or more of. But hopefully there's enough variety coming up that you will be able to give your own 6-film runs, or whatever the maximum number of films in a run by a director you can think of. So thanks very much for watching this first episode. Hopefully you'll join me for more episodes of 6 film runs. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.